You know what they say
hairy
about big
man,
feet, right?
Big
big
hands.
shoes.
Big, fat, juicy hands.
Yes.
But yes.
Don't be
Literally
afraid of
everything I
gloves.
came across in the last week thinking about this conversation was like people that are living in the woods that are like, I saw a shadow and it vored my dog. I think it's Bigfoot. And I'm just
Yeah,
like, okay,
I
that's
did no
cool.
research in the past week because I'm way too deep into
I
this.
only watched the Peter Kane dog walking video.
Well, that's good. I watched this years ago.
Well,
With you.
Connor, the reason you don't need to do any research is because you're one of those
Dog
people
training.
that believes in like the hidden cave systems of America. So you're already into this shit.
Well,
I actually
they're
don't have
not
anything
fake.
in
There are
systems America.
caves.
I mean, they're objectively are caves, but I don't know if Bigfoot lives in them.
Yes,
I'm
I'm
more.
arguing the fact that caves don't exist, just like fucking
You are.
birds or CIA drones.
You are. The caves are the
Fucking
subway
Zoomers,
systems of
get
the
the fuck out of
CIA.
here. God damn. Zoomer shit.
I don't know, man. I
Birds
mean,
land on power lines to recharge, like my phone.
you do. What do you?
All right. Well, Bigfoot. It's a large hominid. It's about 8 feet tall. Sometimes upwards of 15 feet tall. Typically covered in a coarse black or brown hair. Sometimes red or blonde, or occasionally even white. If you go to like Siberia, or Alaska, or somewhere crazy like that. Um,
Isn't it just the Yeti, or is it the same thing?
Well, the Yeti is
they're the
in
same thing. The Yeti's a
Asia.
form of Bigfoot.
Yeah, but
Siberia, I
same,
believe,
right?
right?
It's like
Yeah,
a
Yeah.
it's
big
the
hairy
same vibe.
creature. They just call it something
Yeah,
different.
it's
You know,
well, just
I've
like Sasquatch.
or,
Another
yeah,
name for
or the
Bigfoot, and
skunk ape in Florida.
yeah, Skunk Ape in Florida, Honey Island Swamp Monster down in Louisiana, maybe.
Well, in
You
Florida,
know,
that could just be some cracked
the
out
Grass
dude in the
Man in
swamp.
But it probably is.
Ohio. Um,
Right.
yeah, they're pretty big. They're known for being not great when it comes to friendliness. Not the friendliest
I,
things, but
I've
some
heard
people
that they're
don't
very
care.
friendly. They just like to throw rocks at people. Funny.
Well, see, that's a
Well,
funny thing we can talk
half
about.
the half the shit I've read is either they're hyper aggressive, they will kill your dog if it smells it, or they're coming after our women.
Or they'll shake your
Well,
hand.
So,
here's the
or they're
thing, right? A lot of
yeah,
people say like they're not aggressive because there's not many instances of like people being attacked. But at the
Right.
same time, like people that are attacked by an 8 foot large ape are not going to survive most likely. So who knows? And
no,
plenty of
it's like
people
those
do go missing in the
guys.
woods.
It's like those crazy forest people that go out there and they like disavow modern society and run out into the woods and then they get mauled by bears and everybody goes, oh my god, poor them.
They're withholding
Yeah, and
the
then they make movies about them.
ancestral
Yeah.
tenets, like
Yeah,
Liver King does. You think Liver King's
Mr.
just a
Mr.
Sasquatch that shaved
Steroid,
himself?
it's Sasquatch
Mr.
on steroids.
Mr. Steroid.
Yeah, he's on
Perhaps.
steroids. Sasquatch is a Sasquatch is taking Tren.
Yeah, but it'll be fucking huge.
Yeah, he's taking Tren and doing coke.
Yeah.
It's massive.
Lifting 400-pound
Maybe that's what
dumbbells in the
You
woods
don't even know
somewhere.
what it is.
the final form of
You never
people who
touched a weight in your
untrend.
life.
It's
I
just
touched a weight. I looked at your mother. Shut the fuck up.
damn base.
This is going well.
Listen,
Yeah.
man.
Look, I
Parrot,
mean, Sasquatch is a thing that is found worldwide. It's found
hmm?
all around the world.
They have one in
So
Australia. They have one
they
in.
do. Yowie.
They have one on like both coasts and the Midwest.
They have
They're,
them all over the place.
yeah.
Yeah, I think because it's such a predominant thing where just about everybody has some version of this. I really think, if anything, it's just a species of monkey that we haven't like. It's a very limited species of monkey that
Right.
we just haven't gotten enough information for it yet. Because think about it, you can't have a mystical, magical fucking creature that exists everywhere in the world and be rare. Because if everybody has a name for it, it ain't that rare. It's just we haven't caught one alive yet to study it.
Well, that is the theory. Is that it's like a lost, you know, just species of ape. 'Cause, I mean, look, silverback gorillas exist. Those things are fucking huge, right?
They were a cryptid at one point. Yeah.
Pour one out for Harambe.
Now,
Yeah, pour one out.
A fucking monkey fucked up this entire timeline.
Yeah, bro is holding some secrets for sure. Didn't want to see him succeed.
I thought he was just a gorilla.
He's just a gorilla. He's the gorilla the CIA fed all the good drugs to.
So I guess he lived a nice life.
Think you ever met JFK?
No, I think JFK was dead by then.
Yeah, for a millisecond until his brain was blasted against the back wall.
Yikes. Yeah, man really got the JFK treatment there, didn't he?
Dude.
Do you
Well,
think that's how we're gonna
I'm glad
find?
that we're joking about the assassination of a
I
U.S.
mean,
president within the first 10
if
minutes.
people can make fun of fucking 9/11 and Pearl Harbor, they can make fun of JFK.
Listen, man, I've seen so many TikTok videos that do not get taken down that just
Literally,
clown
the
on
week
JFK
that
all day.
Oppenheimer,
Oh, it's
the
funny.
week that Oppenheimer came out, the Japanese were like, "Oh yeah, bet 9/11."
Yeah,
I think we talked about that the last
we
episode.
did, yeah.
Yeah, this is continuity,
It's
Connor. That's how
ironic.
this works.
Alright, it's continuity, fine. Yeah, so Bigfoot did 9/11, right?
I mean, he might have.
He might have.
Does anybody know if he was, like, where Bigfoot was on 9/11? Because
I don't know. I'd bet that there's
Does he even
Middle
have?
Eastern
Well, he doesn't
Bigfoot.
need a pilot's license. None of the hijackers have pilot's license.
I'm going to say.
They just need to be able to get up. They don't need to be able to land.
Yeah. Who knows? A 15-foot monkey could have flown a plane into one of the towers and we would never know.
Could you imagine getting on a fucking
wild,
plane?
boys.
You imagine getting onto a plane, like a Delta flight, going to New York, and you see this like massive fucking pilot, this hairy dude, just like get in, and he gets into the cockpit. He sits in the chair, and the chair just like creaks under his body weight. And you don't feel concerned about that at all because he's just like, oh, fuck it, we're going to New York. All these people are crazy anyway.
Yeah. Is there one lady gets up and points at him and says,
I'm
"That guy
telling you!
is not real."
I'm telling you! See, I can't watch that video because it's just cringy.
Oh
as
yeah,
shit.
it hurts.
man.
It's just cringy as shit.
And
It's
then-
like going on the Gang Stalkers like subreddit and
I-
reading the post on there.
I hate watching people have like public like freakouts like that where they like. I feel bad for them.
Yeah.
I feel embarrassed for them.
Well, you're supposed to. That's the common human reaction to somebody that goes, that guy just teleported into that seat and he's from dimension Delta C Charlie.
And then all
Yeah.
the mentally ill people on TikTok fed into it. Said she might not be crazy, guys. Like, all right.
But we
I
can
think
talk
that's
about that on
just-
like a future episode.
Yeah,
maybe.
we could. Yeah.
Let's not discredit that now. Let's
Yeah.
wait.
Who knows? You got to
Who
do
knows,
some
we might-
research. There could be a lizard person
might-
on board, man.
We might come
It might
across
have been
incredible evidence.
I mean, if it was Zuckerberg, I would have believed her.
I think that I think we can all agree right now.
Hmm.
We'll probably have to cut the last like 5 minutes of this.
No.
out, 'cause we haven't mentioned Bigfoot like 5
We
minutes.
Well, I was
Talking
about to say, why don't-
9/11 and reptilians.
It's part of this. That's part of the. That's part of
It's
the
part of-
charm
part
of
of
this
Bigfoot.
show.
Part of the
It's not
bit.
Part of the Bigfoot. It's
It's-
not part of Bigfoot.
It's all one giant bit. The bit
No, I
ends
was
when the
gonna
podcast
say-
ends.
I
Does
was
it?
gonna say,
Mhm.
like, everybody wants to see Zuckerberg and Musk fight in a cage match. Why don't we make it a 3-way and have fucking Bigfoot in there?
Yeah, true.
We can't get him. He's very.
I know,
elusive.
he's a
We can't
bitch.
Even find him dead.
I can't find his. I can't call his fucking agent.
Yeah, he's
His agent's a fairy person.
really unreachable.
Maybe he's a fairy person. You ever
Think
thought about
so?
that? Oh, I think so.
I mean,
I-
I don't believe in fairies, but all right.
I disagree.
I mean, like,
How do you disagree about my opinion? That doesn't make any sense.
I mean, I disagree with your like.
I mean, I guess
I
that
don't
makes
disagree
sense.
that you. Yeah, it makes perfect
Do you
sense.
think-
I don't disagree that you believe that way. I just disagree with what you believe.
Oh fuck.
do you think Lady Bigfoot is just a fey trap all the horny men?
I don't think so.
No.
Do you think
I-
she's a
not at
trad
all,
wife?
Maybe. Maybe.
Trad wife. Trad wife.
Probably
Trad
not.
wife.
Probably not, but it's possible.
If any of you are still listening to this garbage fiber podcast after this entire debacle, I don't know what to tell you.
I don't think they're ever going to hear this debacle.
They will.
No, I think we need to start this over.
No.
This is a mess.
I'm not doing it.
We got to start it over. bud.
I'm the editing team. This is staying in.
This is insane.
It's just like the rest of
Talking
the
about
Hollywood
9/11
right now.
Billions, trad wives. We're not
The
talking
rest
about
of my-
everything but Bigfoot.
Well,
don't
I mean,
know,
this all
man.
relates. This all relates back to Bigfoot in a way, right? Because
Yeah.
How does JFK's head being unfolded relate back to Bigfoot?
Well, there's a couple degrees
That's
of
what we started
separation
with
here,
this.
Connor. All
because
right?
there's no way that a normal human being could have held that Carcano rifle and fired it that fast. It had been Bigfoot.
God, but now you're accepting that the rifle was fired from that position. And we can't have that.
But not,
we all
but
know
not a
Bigfoot
grassy
was in the
knoll.
grassy knoll. We all
We all know
know
he's
that's the case.
Costello
Bigfoot was
Yeah.
Bigfoot was on the grassy knoll with the RPG. I understand.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
All right.
Okay,
Dovetailing
so
back into actual definitive matters. Go
all right,
ahead.
yeah, let's all right.
Yeah, let's bring it
Okay,
back in.
let's take a breather. All right, so Bigfoot, right? Bigfoot is a primate, hominid, whatever you want to call him.
Could be.
Primate being like a monkey, I guess, and a
How
hominid being
dare
like
you
a
assume his
human.
species?
Shut up.
He doesn't have a tail,
Uh,
so
I don't know if that bears anything with it. I don't know. I don't know what a primate is, to be honest. I know like monkeys are primates. I think gorillas are primates.
We
Maybe.
are primates.
Are we?
Yeah.
All right, but we're also hominids, and I think hominids are subspecies of primates or like a subclass of primates or whatever.
I don't know. I'm not a scientist. I just watch funny video about Bigfoot.
Like we're
I'm not a
hominids,
Scientologist.
Bigfoot's a hominid.
Good news.
I think they were like archaic hominids that came before humans, allegedly. And yeah, Bigfoot. A lot of people think Bigfoot could be one of those because of Gigantopithecus being found in Asia, I believe. And
There's,
thinking maybe a remnant population, but I don't think that necessarily bears out.
There's people who are researching yeah, which monkey. Some of them are entering the Stone Age, right? So
Yeah,
it's not
yeah,
impossible to
some
think that there
monkeys.
might be some kind of like ape out there.
Yeah.
Unresearched. There's a
Well,
lot of
that's-
places that we haven't been.
I think them
That's-
entering the Stone Age is like a really like large stretch because I'm pretty sure it's like more like they're using rocks to open nuts and stuff like that. It's not,
That's
not
the
like they're making
SCP.
tools, but
That's the SCP Foundation doing that shit, dude. Injecting
is it?
DNA into
Okay.
monkeys and shit. Oh yeah.
Maybe all the sightings are just really tall people.
I think the most famous sighting of that movie and of that film that we're going to discuss here. I think that entire thing's bullshit. I really do.
Well,
I shared a basically stabilized video version of that in this chat today, and it almost to me looks like some dude in a monkey suit.
if I'm
See,
not
I have
mistaken,
the
that was
I have the
proven
opposite
to
take on that.
be. Was it not? Did the guy not come out and say
No,
it was
it's not. There was a guy that came out and said there's been a lot of people, like I think like 65 or something, that have come out and say that they're the actor in the suit. There's
Interesting.
been so many people that say that they're the actor, and there's never been any proof that any of them.
Well, so I
And
know
the videographers go different ways on whether it's fake or not. Some go with it being real, and some go with it being fake.
some of the footprints that are fake because some people have the people who made them have come out.
People have come out and admitted
Um,
they're
Yeah.
being fake.
Which
There's
is-
some that are. We can go into footprints. Footprints are actually a really big topic with Bigfoot.
They are, yeah.
But
This is one that was a really very clear actual footprint that people weren't sure if it was fake or not.
some of them have
Whenever it came
subdermal
forward.
ridges and stuff like that, which would make it seem like it's not fake. I personally like the Patterson Gimlin film because I believe there were footprints found in a similar area that were proven to be fake.
Right.
In the Patterson Gimlin film, for if anyone doesn't know what it is, you can look it up. I don't know if we'll be able to put it into the episode. We can put a link into the description though.
Yeah.
But I personally, with what I've read and what I've heard on podcasts and stuff, I lean towards it being real. I think it's very compelling that the Bigfoot in the film moves in a different way than even the best like costumes at the time would have allowed it to move, especially with where the some of the joints hinge. And I've looked into I know people have looked into like really close analyses of parts of its body during the film, and like it's consistent with the way it's moving is consistent with how the muscles flex in different parts of the body.
Right.
And I like a costume. I don't even think a costume can do that now, like a flat out costume.
Yeah.
Certainly not in the 1960s.
You'd be
I'll give you
surprised.
that. I'd be extremely surprised that a suit from 60 years ago could be more anatomically correct than something that can be made today.
Yeah.
You know, my
thing-
biggest thing with the whole film is the fact that it's perfect, right? You have it's
I don't know if
jittery
it's
as shit.
perfect.
Well, no, it's jittery
Like,
as
just
shit, which is
free
fine.
timing.
But the whole fact that it turns around and looks at the camera or looks at the area where the camera is at, like almost halfway through, it's almost like it's perfect, right? You have like a couple, seconds of establishing shot, and then the creature turns around and looks at you for like 2 or 3 seconds to give you that like, oh, it knows you're there, and then it stomps off into the woods. I mean,
That's true.
I guess that can happen, but it just seems to me like it's too good to be true. It just seems
I
like somebody was just like, hey, turn around, and it turned around.
Yeah. My biggest thing is I just struggle to get beyond. The most compelling thing I've heard, I believe, is with the size of the suit, because it is like an 8 foot something tall suit, I believe, if it is a suit. The way and the spot
It has
that
to be
the
on.
arms bend, well, but the spot that the arms bend isn't possible with the average length of human arm.
That's interesting.
You
Yeah.
can't have that bend at the elbow because I think your forearm would be where the elbow is. You can't bend in the forearm.
No, unless articulate. I don't know.
But then it would be too. Then
Yeah.
it would be too short.
You
wouldn't be able to swing it.
It would
You'd
take.
have to like stuff the arms or something.
Yeah, and the hips flex in a specific way as well.
Right.
I don't remember exactly. It was on a History Channel show I saw this, but I don't remember exactly how they described it. But I think the hips flex in a way that primate hips flex.
The History Channel actually has a lot on Bigfoot.
The History Channel is about like Hitler and like freaking Bigfoot and aliens.
Well,
Yeah.
that's back in the day. That's what it was. Back in the day, it used to be
It's
nothing but Hitler and
still
Bigfoot
that.
shit. Now
It's
it's
still
like
that
Pawn
now.
Stars and American Pickers and
Yeah.
Yeah, there's that, but there's still a lot of Hitler Bigfoot. Like that's all I watch is Hitler Bigfoot and alien.
well, yeah, because
Mostly
nobody
Bigfoot
gives
and
a shit
aliens. I don't
about
really care about
listening to
aliens.
Alexander's conquests in the Mediterranean. They want to know about Hitler's secret submarine that moved him to Argentina.
They want to hear about the FBI
But I would read
investigating
about that.
Bigfoot's.
Speaking of Alexander, I believe I should have grabbed the books before. I believe there's a reference of hairy men in either Quintus Curtius Rufus, his History of Alexander.
There's like
Maybe Plutarch's Life. One of the lives of Alexander
it's weird.
has a reference to hairy men living in the hills.
Yeah, there's like references
Alexander
to it like all the way like in America all the way back to the 1800s, right?
Yeah. Well, so that's so. I mean, we all I think listen to the Fireside Chats podcast with Timothy Renner and Josh McCutcheon, and I've read the books that it's referencing where the footprints end, and where the footprints end, Volume 1 starts talking about a the 1800s. It starts talking about the 1800s in the 3 Mile Island area of Pennsylvania, with a newspaper account of what is essentially a Bigfoot. I think they call it a wild man.
Right.
Popping out and scaring some people on their way home from I believe church at night. And so like yeah, accounts go back. I've done a little bit of I have access to a lot of like old newspaper databases, and I've done a little bit of research on stuff like this in them. And you'd be surprised the amount of like newspaper databases that mention like monsters and stuff like that, and Bigfoot and things like that. It's very
Well,
interesting.
it's kind of like when something like this gets into the psyche of the population, everybody starts reporting shit, right? It's just like back in the 50s with the Red Scare. Everybody called each other communists. Everybody
Yeah,
called
true.
each other, you're a fucking commie this and a commie that. It's when you put it into the psyche of the population, they're gonna find things even if they aren't there. It's just like with
Yeah.
Mothman, right? As soon as the first sightings of Mothman started happening over the bridge and shit, everybody started seeing a 7 foot tall dude with giant red
Well, the
eyes.
first
And
sights of Mothman weren't over the bridge. We should do a podcast
No.
on Mothman is a
Well,
big
Mothman is
topic.
another good cryptid.
I
Oh,
I
Huge topic.
literally just read a Popular Mechanics article about Mothman.
Interesting. I would recommend listening to the Kryptonaut podcast's 6-part 10-hour extravaganza about Mothman. It's pretty good.
10 hours?
Yeah,
Jesus
it's like
Christ.
Hours
six
of
parts.
Mothman.
It was released over 6 weeks. So yeah, it's 10 hours. But I was in a nurse's class in college and had nothing to do because there was no one there. So I listened to 10 hours of
Yeah,
Mothman.
fair.
So this was like a year and a half ago, 2 years ago.
But when you put shit into the psyche of the populace, they're going to see things, right? So that's why after the 1950s, when the film was shot, everybody started seeing Bigfoot everywhere. And I know it's been reported throughout human history, but like you can look on a graph of like reported sightings, and they explode in the 50s because that's when the movie was shot.
But you could also,
And then all of us
I believe the movie was shot in the 60s, I believe.
or 60s,
But you
whatever.
could also look on the on like a different graph, and say, oh, this is also when we got much easier mass communication across the country and across the world, right? Like back in the 1800s, news took time to travel.
Right.
And sure, a sighting would light up a local area, but like a sighting's not going to light up like a sighting in like Maryland's not going to light up Philadelphia or like New York City.
Right.
So, and a sighting out in the West, it's not going to light up anywhere.
So my thing is like a lot of natives think it's like indigo or a stick
Yeah.
Indian or like something completely different, and I find that interesting that there's so many different tribes have different names or call it different things instead of what like is described. Wendigos aren't described as hairy, are they?
Wendigos are typically described as people that are possessed.
Yeah. So
Popular culture has put them as like a deer antler head on like a gaunt body, but they're typically described as people possessed. I forgot about the stick Indians. We used to talk about the stick Indians.
Yeah, the stick Indians are a fun
the stick
meme.
Indians gonna freaking get you.
Well,
They're gonna
so
get you.
the idea of stick Indians just reminds me of like Fae, like
So that's an
stuff.
interesting thing that comes up. So the Native Americans, a lot of them, especially in the northeastern region of America, like New England and I believe Quebec and stuff like that, like up north on the eastern seaboard, have the idea of like a changeling, and like what we would call, they have a very similar folklore to like Irish fairy folk,
Right.
which is fascinating. And I can't like, I don't want to like I don't want to generalize because obviously a lot of different cultures and stuff and different beliefs.
Yeah,
But I
that's
know a lot of prominent and like larger cultures believed in things like Irish fairies, and Bigfoot ties into Irish fairies as well. It's like Irish fairies, like we see them as small, like Tinkerbell, but that's not necessarily the case. Like a goblin is a form of fairy, an elf is a form of fairy.
right.
A
I think the
fairies
Irish just
were
drink
just
too much.
well, I'm Irish. I can probably agree with
No,
that.
there
I
you
mean,
go.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
so am I.
I mean,
No
Nick's
problem.
Irish as well. Yeah, our people drink a lot. But what do you call it? There were cases where fairies could be what we would describe as a Bigfoot today, and Bigfoot has some of the similar like things associated with fairies. And for like honestly, like it all ties in. Like for that matter, like UFOs do as well,
Yeah.
right? Pre the UFO abduction phenomenon is a millennia old phenomenon. Previously, it was just called a fairy abduction. You would go
Right.
into fairyland and you would come out years later, and you would have missing time, and missing time and the abduction phenomenon are associated with Bigfoot as well.
Isn't there
Um,
the whole thing where people report like hearing 3 knocks when
yeah, what wood knocks is a very common
right?
thing associated
We
with
had an
Bigfoot.
experience like that actually. Now that I think
We
about
had
that,
a weird we can go into that I think a little bit later.
yeah, we could talk about.
We had a I think with the BFRO, the Bigfoot Field Research Organization, I think we would have what would be called a Class B experience.
Right. Well, we didn't see,
Bigfoot.
but we
Well, that yeah,
heard
Class
stuff.
B. We heard, and then the more I think about like later that night too. Remember, we saw other things later that night that were
Yeah.
odd. That
That's why
actually,
you always
you know,
take a
'cause
shotgun
I
with you
didn't.
so you can start firing at the fairies.
We had nothing.
We should
We
have
and
had
we
shot.
we
Although
should have. But
people who shoot at Bigfoot, they usually shoot it and then whatever falls over disappears. What I've read.
yeah,
So
yes, this is true.
You know
We
what? If we ever do some like crazy shit where we go out there and look for this shit, we need to take obviously a gun because you're an idiot if you don't go into it with a gun. But you should take like a flare, right? That way you can like see
yeah,
through the
flares are
brush
true.
and shit, so you
yeah,
can see a heat signature. Because
We
obviously, if you hear some kind of wood knocking or some kind of fairy shit, and you point a flare at it and there's nothing there, then obviously, yeah, that's crazy.
we could go out to where me and Nick had our experience.
I don't want
That was like
that creeped me the
I live
fuck
out
out,
there.
man.
I live out there. I was up there with that. I have another story with that, which I'll just tell it now. People might find it interesting. I was up there with our man Morris. That
Oh, shout out Morris.
yeah, shout out Morris. We were up there with Morris. We took Morris about
Bring her back.
last October. All right. Brad doesn't care. Brad is flaking on us.
Bread's gone.
No, so we were out there with Morris last October. We wanted to go up the hill. Morris was only in town for a few days. We were before we had to go back to college, right? So we went up that hill and it started raining, right? And if you remember, our whole experience was catalyzed by us going into an abandoned graveyard.
Yeah, true.
I took Morris to see the graveyard. Um, we walked around the graveyard, and I will say to you, it was raining pretty hard when we got up there. And when we hit that graveyard, the rain stopped, the wind
That's
stopped, everything
weird.
stopped. And then we're in the graveyard for about 15 seconds before the wind and the rain pick up as hard as ever, whipping us, pouring. Me
That's
and Morris, it's
wild.
literally like soaking. Like I have a waxed jacket, but it's soaking through my jacket. It's going through the wax. It's coming down so hard. Me and Morris are absolutely freaking soaked. And once we leave the graveyard, it cools off a bit. It just cools off. And we just went back. We were like, we could go further up the hill, but it's it's raining and it's not that nice out. We can just go back to the house. So we just walked back to the house. It was a very odd experience. Like there's some weird energy there, and
Yeah.
I mean the first experience, because Brad's on here, we can just go through our first experience. The first experience we had was, I think we've probably told Brad before. He's probably
Yeah, I think so. Heard it.
The first experience we had was it's up in like northern Pennsylvania, on a mountain near a lake where this old graveyard was. And there's no bodies in the graveyard. The graves have all been dug up. And we went up there with me, Nick, my brother, and two of our other friends from back in the day. And we won't use their names because there's reasons we
Privacy.
can't use the names. Yeah, privacy reasons. But
I didn't flake
we
on you. I had to pee really bad.
Oh,
that's great. So we're telling our little tale here. So
I
we
figured.
went up this hill, and the first thing we did was hit this graveyard. It's right up the logging road because there was old logging stuff on the hill. It is somewhat private property, but the owners don't really care if you walk around on it, so it's fine. And we went up the hill, and the graveyard's very odd. It was very quiet when we got into the graveyard.
quiet
If I remember, it was there was a weird vibe on the air.
to a point where we were walking and said, "Wait, stop for a
Yeah.
second and listen." Like dead
And
quiet.
there was no wind, no insects, and that was a little bit further up the hill. But it's kind of starting on the graveyard. I didn't realize for probably 10, 15 minutes. I was like, stop, and then I think I said to one of our friends, like, what do you hear? He's like, I don't know, nothing. I'm like, exactly. There's nothing.
Yeah.
There's no birds. There's no bugs. There's no wind. There's nothing, which is common in these like sort of situations.
Right.
Actually, I
It's
found out.
common when wild animals come around.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
predators. So
And we're predators, but we're in a relatively like walked on area, so like
Yeah.
predators aren't gonna be like the birds are gonna go quiet for us. Like I go up the hill all the time.
we were making
birds
noise
go
too.
quiet
It's not
for
like
me.
we were dead
Yeah,
quiet.
yeah.
We're joking and laughing
Yeah.
and yelling.
And,
So
There was a
usually,
YouTube video. There was a YouTube video of some dude that's like a night patrol, like a graveyard or some shit.
Yeah.
And he like, body cam or whatever, and he's walking around and everything gets really quiet, and then this like apparition of a child shows up on a gravestone. That I don't believe in ghosts, but that shit scares me. Like
Yeah, that's
I'm skeptical of just about everything, but I don't want to fuck with things that could exist and could like turn me inside out. I'm not.
yeah. I have a friend who works in an office alone, in like this one room alone, and there's an apparition of a guy in a suit appears in the corner occasionally.
oh, it's the
pretty
Hat Man. He
creepy.
probably just owes some money.
Yeah, he says it's pretty creepy. He's like, yeah, I don't know. I turn around, man. There's an apparition, and I turn away, and it's gone. I'm like, that's rough. But back to our experience here. We get up to like the crest of the hill and start going down the other side. I mean, it is a mountain, but it's the Appalachian mountain chain, so it's not. And
Not
this
huge.
is an area where it's not that tall. The valley floor is pretty high, so we get up there, right? We crest the hill and we get into this clearing, and it's not really a clearing. There had been a straight line windstorm like about a year and a half before, if that even, and it had knocked down for some reason hadn't knocked down all the trees in the area, but it had knocked down this clearing probably about like 100 feet long and 50 feet wide, full of trees.
Yeah.
And we were in the middle of the clearing, and we hear this distorted like whistling sound that none of us had ever heard from behind us.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey guys, what's that? And we turn around and we look, and it's like we don't see anything, and it sounds like it's high up in the trees. Like it sounds like it's probably a good 15 feet up at least, like where a bird would be.
Right.
And
That's what we thought it was at first.
yeah, but keep in mind too, like this is the only noise. There's no other noise.
Right.
It's just this whistling.
Because most of what we
And
were looking
then-
out for was like black bears, which again, usually
Yeah, I
go
mean, there's
around people.
No, but I think they're in the area. They
Yeah.
come into my yard, which is like not even half a mile away.
Right.
But then we hear this whistling, and then we're like, okay, we don't see anything. Within 5 seconds, like an inhumanly short amount of time, we hear it from like the other side of the clearing, well over like 100 feet away. Same whistling, and then it pops up again off to our left, and then to our right, and
And
then
that's
back
when
again,
we all
and it's a
said,
couple times.
"How about we
I
head
think,
back?"
yeah, I think we said like, I think we audibly said like, hey, we're just gonna get out of here, like, sorry, and like left.
That's when you pull out your 9 and you start firing blindly into the bushes.
Yeah,
And then later we
we
were
know how to count on
researching
us.
like what could have made the noise, and we could not find anything to
No,
match it.
I've since found out Bigfoot whistling, distorted whistling, is associated with Bigfoot a lot.
Yeah.
But and then it gets weirder too, because as we'll find out talking about this, like Bigfoot is associated with like a lot of other parts of high strangeness, as it's called, like mystery lights, UFOs,
Right.
abductions, missing time, stuff like that. We didn't have any missing time or anything
No.
that I know of. But
I mean,
you
not like
remember?
anyone,
Yeah,
not like anyone was looking out.
I was say I remember
That's
pretty
just us out
vividly
there.
what we were doing beforehand. It was to walk
Yeah.
like
Yeah, it was just a walk up the hill.
right up the
But then
hill.
that
There.
this
and
is an
then-
area. This is an area where you can see stars really well, or at least you used to be able to. So we went out onto the dock at night to look at the stars, right? All 5 of us, or 4 of us, something like that. And we're looking up at the sky, and the stars start moving weird. Like 2 or 3 of the
Yeah.
stars start doing like 90-degree like cuts, right? Like they start moving really quickly one way, and they'll cut 90 degrees, like dead stop, and then 90 degrees down, or something like that. Like we've never seen that happen before. I've never seen that happen.
I was thinking it was a plane, but there was a plane going
No,
by, and
there was.
we saw that pretty clearly, like how it was
This
moving.
was 3 or 4 star-sized dots, and it was clearly like stars, it's like star-type shapes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It was not like a plane or like a satellite, and they were moving in just weird ways.
The lights weren't
they shouldn't
blinking.
be able to move.
That's the
No,
thing.
no,
and there
they
was
shouldn't
no
be
like
able to move
red.
like that.
Usually it's
Yeah.
like red and white light.
Yeah, it's very odd.
Yeah.
And I didn't know about the high strangeness connection at the time, so we didn't like do anything about it or just talk about it. And that's the weirdest thing, which also comes up in, well, especially with UFOs and stuff. A complete lack of concern.
Yeah.
None of us thought about it. None of us we talked about it for like 30 seconds maybe, and we just ignored it.
Yeah, we were just sitting
And
there on the
none of
dock
us-
listening to music and fishing.
None of us connected it with what had happened earlier in the day.
And
I don't think I never talked with any of the other guys again about what happened in the woods.
no. Nope.
You, me, and my brother talked about it like a year and a half later. I'm like, yeah, that was weird. Why didn't we? We're kind of like, why didn't we like ever like think any more about that or talk about it? Like it's like left our minds.
It did, yeah.
I don't even think my dad was. I don't think we even told my dad what happened.
No.
I don't think they know.
We were sitting in. We told the other guys. I remember. I think.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, "That's weird."
Day when or maybe later that day because they showed up like an hour after we got back or something like that.
Yeah.
And
they
we were like,
should've-
yeah, we had a weird experience in the woods. They're like, yeah, that's odd, but we just never talked about it.
We like looked up some noises before they got there, and then that was. I think it was
that
before
was.
they got there,
was
or
it.
after they went.
Yeah, we couldn't find anything, and we just ignored it. We
That
just-
scared
and
the
we saw
fuck out of me.
We saw the. That was creepy. I was like, what the hell?
Because I went
We saw the
camping
UFOs.
just
We
like
looked
not
at
that
some.
long ago, like a couple weeks ago, and like that's all I could think about when I was out there. To be honest.
Yeah, I had a weird experience in the woods.
Yeah.
I've had weird experiences out in the pines as well. I don't go out there as much as I used to. Just not like weird like experiences like shapes in the trees that shouldn't be there.
Yeah.
Funny,
Like,
dude. That's why you get a high-powered light and a high-powered weapon.
I
I
agree.
live in New
That's why I
Jersey,
had a
you
high
can't
powered
carry
light.
a high powered weapon.
Well, now you can.
Carry a high powered weapon, I go to jail.
Anti-material rifle, dude.
Yeah.
What's
we
gonna
call
what?
it, though.
What's gonna win, Bigfoot or a fucking 50 cal?
So just get
You
the
know,
non
probably
NFA
the
item.
50 cal, but yeah, so I'll still go to jail for firing on Bigfoot in New Jersey.
I think a 4
But,
bore would Well,
maybe.
Bigfoot is a citizen,
That's true.
so can't.
No, he's not.
But-
He's one of them. He's
no.
like one of them sovereign citizens who's like, you pulled me over in my craft, and there is no noticeable reason why you did so.
I was
Officer,
not
you shall
driving.
leave
I
me."
was traveling.
I don't
was-
think any of this. have ever
I
seen
was
Bigfoot happen.
I was
No.
splitting commerce between two locations.
Yeah,
No, I've never had a sighting like that.
no. I stopped going to the Pine Barrens as much just because there was I started seeing off in the distance across like lakes and stuff like that out there, like faces in like the leaves.
You might be schizophrenic.
It's
So do
possible.
you
But
let
like
me ask
the
this because
yeah.
let me ask this because this is kind of how I feel. Do you think if you acknowledge this shit happening, it will happen more to you and then something bad will happen? Like if you go out in the woods and you start hearing shit and then you make a conscious decision to investigate it. Do you think you're going to end up as one of those naked people like waking up on a rock somewhere?
No, I don't think it necessarily means something
No.
bad's gonna happen, but I do think that
I mean, they like to play tricks on us.
I
Fairies.
do think that like you can I think people underestimate the amount like most people probably have some sort of paranormal experience in their life, but people underestimate the amount that the average person is able to just push something out of their mind and say, it doesn't fit within my paradigm, so it can't happen, so it didn't happen.
Half this country does that.
Yeah, exactly. More than half. But I think that if you're open to the fact that maybe your paradigm's not the correct one, or maybe there's more to this reality than just the material that we think of, then you're more apt to see it. I've definitely seen other weird things in my life,
Right.
just never a Bigfoot thing. And I think that if you're more open to seeing those things, then you
Right,
will.
your mind will start
Now,
making you see them. It's like when
well,
you
I don't
buy
think
a
your mind starts
car.
making you see them. I think
Well,
that
you know what I
you'll be
mean.
more you'll be more able to see it. But I
You
do
start
agree.
perceiving them, right?
Yeah.
It's like when you notice a Subaru on the highway, and then all of a sudden all you see is Subarus.
Right.
Recently, I
Volkswagen.
noticed Rivians around, and I've just
Yeah.
been seeing Rivians everywhere.
Yep.
Yeah, but
That's also just
I
because they started selling a lot.
that is true. But with them, with like a bad thing happening to you, it may open you up to a bad thing, depending on like how you structure your life and like your beliefs and stuff.
Right.
Like I know, if you believe in like demonology and like demons and stuff like that, um, dwelling like priests and theologians caution studying demons too much and like demonology
Yeah.
because studying something like that can open you up to those sort of influences and enable you to be harassed more than you normally would be. So if it is something like a demon, like if so you say Bigfoot's a demon, then you probably don't want to study it a lot. But I don't necessarily think Bigfoot's a demon.
No, I
Just
think
because
I
Bigfoot's
don't
just
think
a guy.
lots of people study Bigfoot, and very few people have any negative consequence from studying
The only
Bigfoot
thing
other
that
than
they
studying
face
Bigfoot.
are the weird, like, Men in Black type people that show up and hey,
That's an odd one, yeah.
you
Yeah,
did not
that's
see
taking
three
that.
stars move on themselves last night. You are sleeping at that time.
We'll be
the
taking
worst
that
thing
body.
they face. The worst thing they face is black-eyed children, but that's a whole nother
Oh
episode.
my god, dude.
That's
I
that
don't
genuinely
even
disturbs
want to
me.
talk about that.
That
That shit
disturbs me.
freaks me out.
I don't want
That
to talk about
disturbs me
that.
so much. No, we're gonna
We're
talk
gonna
about
end
it,
up
but that
talking about
disturbs me
that, but
so
that
much.
shit
Fuck me, man.
when I saw that episode of the Y Files, I'm like, oh my fucking god, why?
Why? I see. Some of the most horrifying pictures I've ever seen are black-eyed children. It's like children, but they're the demons from freaking Supernatural.
Yeah. Well, that's why it
Terrifying.
creeps me the fuck out.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
kind of like that's like seeing Bigfoot in the bush, right? Like you're just minding
Yeah.
your own business in the woods, and all of a sudden you just see this like mass moving through the brush, and you shine your
think-
flashlight, and
Right.
it's just this fucking wall of hair, and it's just like
Well,
holy
that's
shit.
another
Scary
thing
is you're
to.
walking through the woods and you see a guy in a freaking ghillie suit just crouching in a ambush. You're like, I don't know what he's doing here, man. But I can't like acknowledge
Then
that
you
he's here. I
realize
can't
Ruby
acknowledge,
Ridge is just
but I
around the corner.
can't acknowledge that there's anything wrong because it
Yeah.
could end very badly. You can't acknowledge the children have black eyes. You just have to tell them not to come into your home.
Recognize bodies in.
Close the door
Oh,
and
I hate that
just say
SCP
the Lord's
story.
Prayer.
It's
Never read that one or seen that one.
creepy. A lot of the SCP. That would be fun because we
The
could just
old
talk about.
SCP stuff is creepy.
I've
The
never
new
read the SCP stuff. I've watched the
The
short
new
films.
stuff is a lot of it's
The
goofy.
short films are in that one short film is phenomenal.
Oh yeah,
That's phenomenal.
the Evan royalty one.
yeah, that is
Yeah,
so good.
that's
Did the
So-
Stalker short
is a-
film come out yet?
No,
I don't
that
know. I
guy.
watched that. If
That
one.
guy worked with Operator Drewski on
Mhm.
the last one they made, and it was really good.
Yeah,
It's a very good short film. But back to Bigfoot with the we went on that whole tangent with like the things we had seen. You've never seen anything paranormal, Brad, have you?
Nothing like that. I mean, I think I've seen some weird shit in the sky, but I live over an airport and I live in Ohio, so
true.
that's just normal here.
So
But
they probably got
Me and my
flying
so
monsters in Ohio or
me and
something
my
because of all
dad
the
were watching
radiation.
this was just you, Nick. Me and my dad were watching something the other night.
Huh?
This is not really the Bigfoot. It is tangentially because
I
it is
was
high
say,
strangeness, and Bigfoot is a part of high strangeness, and will probably come up again. But me and my dad were watching a show the other night at like probably a week ago, at like 9:30 or something like that. Yeah, exactly. It was a week. It was right after we recorded the last episode,
oh my,
and a green ball of fire streaked over my house.
that could
interesting.
have just been a
We saw it through
meteorite.
the trees. It was well, it was close to it was low. It was relatively low, and it was a green ball of fire. It was not like a meteor.
Hmm.
It was bright green.
Yeah, but you got to understand when you see that shit, by the time you see it burn up in the atmosphere, it's perceived to be very low, but it's probably 8, 60, 70, 70, 80,000 miles up,
Then
and then you just see it blow up like that
then
because
this
it
thing
hits
was
the upper
huge
atmosphere.
because it was the size of a small car. In my vision,
Yeah,
like the size of a small car.
I like I said, I grew up under a flight path, so I've seen all sorts of airplanes and shit. And I right
I
past an Air Force bases in Ohio. So all the UFO people in the chat or in the listening in the audience here, there's your plug. But I've never really seen airborne weird things. I've seen weird water things.
really water
Not
thing.
like sea monsters, but like yeah, like you know
Like craft.
how yeah, you know how like you can only see so far over a body of water before it just like meets the skyline.
Yeah,
Yeah, before it means skyline because you can't see too far, even though the Earth
because
is
the Earth
flat.
is flat. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, the Earth's flat, but
yeah.
like
Uh-huh.
there was a time because I live right on Lake Erie. Like I can walk down the street, throw a rock, hit the lake.
Yeah.
It was like 4th of July, and I remember, and this is when I was young. I remember like looking out over the horizon when the fireworks were going off in Cleveland, and there was just this like orb, I think,
Yeah.
and it hovered. It looked like it was hovering over the water, and then it just shot over the horizon like instantaneously.
Mhm.
Now, what I attribute it to is like part of a flare, or part of a firework falling out of the sky and then hitting the water, and then the residual light just like splashing out.
Yeah,
So
that's
I don't think it
possible.
was like an alien. I don't think it was an alien or anything, but that was weird. I've also heard um weird voices and shit on the lake shore. Like you'll hear like you'll hear people in your life. Like my grandmother or like somebody that I was talking to recently, and you just hear their voice in like the rocks and shit. But I think that's just more paranoid than anything else.
That's a
Right.
little.
I haven't I
You
haven't
might be a
really been
schizophrenic too.
well, maybe.
I don't know. Weird
And
things
then
do
take my
seem to happen near the spot. I'm not
Mhm.
sure why that.
Oh, dude, I will not go in the ocean. I will not go anywhere near the fucking ocean. I hate
I
any
mean,
body of water. I
Yeah.
hate any body of water I can't fucking see the bottom of. I,
I
I just
I
don't
don't
like
mind that.
it.
I don't. I'm fine with smaller lakes. I mean, we live like Nick knows. I mean,
yeah. I mean,
we
I go
live like
swim
an
in the
hour.
lake
We
down the
live an
street.
hour from the ocean. We live in a lake area. I'm fine with the lakes. They don't thrill me, but I live an
I
hour
hate the ocean just
from
because
the
of the
ocean.
salt water. I don't
I
like.
hate the ocean. I never go down there.
I don't like how large it
But
is and how like deep it is and like how shit can hide in it.
Yeah.
yeah,
Right? Like I'm a very scientific oriented person, regardless
That's how I feel
to the
about the
amount of conspiracy
woods.
theories I like bunching out about.
mhm,
But like I always leave like a cusp of like, what if there is like some Star Child bullshit or whatever. But I don't know. I haven't really experienced anything paranormal in my life. I
yeah,
not necessarily like to, but if we go camping or we go cruising through a graveyard or like near some Air Force base and we see some triangular craft pulling U's in the sky at like Mach 19 or something, then that'd be cool. But I'm not really a believer in that stuff. I try to. It's why like the whole Bigfoot movie thing. I look at and I go, you know, it might be a dude in a suit, or it could just be a monkey or some type of ape that we've never seen before. Because there's a lot of organic life on this planet that we've never seen before.
Yeah.
yeah.
And
Just talking about the
I
ocean, that's like mostly
yeah,
unless
Never
it's
going
we
exploring
know
there.
outer
more about
space.
Never
we know
going
more
there.
about the moon than we know the bottom of the ocean. and I don't know. Like I can't go. I wouldn't be able to go solo camping, but like if we all went together into the woods and shit, I could probably do it.
Right.
I just don't like being alone
That's
in
how
a
I
dark
felt.
area in the woods.
I want to go solo camping, but I'm also somewhat worried. The only place to really go is the Pine Barrens. I'm somewhat worried about going to the Pine Barrens solo.
Honestly,
that's the
Acadia
thing. Like,
was
there's
pretty
a lot
nice. I didn't have any
of
weird experiences.
there's a lot of crap in the Pine Barrens, man. Like the Jersey Devil and stuff like that.
Well,
And
that's
then
an
human
interesting.
crap as well. Like the mob dumps stuff in the Pine Barrens. The mob dump stuff.
Oh
You don't want to run
yeah,
across the you don't want to run across the mob at 1 a.m. or you're gonna get dumped too.
yeah. I mean, like back in the day, I'm sure, I'm sure there's a crap ton of barrels with bodies. That one
Oh,
lake that dried up recently was in Nevada or something like that.
Yeah. They found a ton of
They
bodies.
found like a bunch of bodies and
Ton of bodies. Oh man.
and people's
But
stuff.
that's just Jersey, dude. Like when they go through, if they dredge out any of the water by New York or Jersey, God knows how many bodies they're gonna find.
Oh yeah.
Lot. I know people that have been threatened, like with my dad was threatened with concrete shoes.
It happens.
It does.
Just kind of.
Keep your mouth yapping, and I swear to God, I'm gonna put some concrete fucking shoes on your feet, son, and you're gonna figure out how short walk up a pier.
Yeah, like literally, yeah. The throwing with the Hudson.
Yeah, you know who I would like to talk about on this podcast eventually?
Yeah.
Frank Sinatra. He has a lot of ties to certain things.
Certain things, yeah.
I have no idea what you're talking
The guy
about.
that we talked about earlier, JFK.
Yeah, JFK.
Yeah.
And the mob.
I don't know.
Like the mob ties, I just find that interesting. And it's less conspiratorial and stuff, and it's more historical.
I don't know why, but every time you talk about that guy, I keep thinking of Jeffrey Dahmer. I don't know why, but every time you talk, we're talking about that guy. I was like, but Jeffrey Dahmer?
Jeffrey Dahmer, yeah.
That guy.
No, we're talking about Bigfoot, Brad. The hominid. And remember, like half an hour ago, we were talking about like changelings and Bigfoot. So I think we're gonna get back to that.
Yeah, we can. You bring it back.
So we can bring it back into the changelings. So yeah, I mean, like the Bigfoot, like as we were saying, like Bigfoot and like Native American lore and Irish lore kind of match up pretty well with changelings and fairies, and Bigfoot kind of fits into that paradigm. And then that fits into if anyone's ever heard of missing 411, I believe Polites has basically been proven a fraud, but with a lot of his stuff. But it is clear that he has identified a phenomenon that is occurring, whether he's a fraud or not.
I was just looking at the maps that like overlay over the missing people with the National Forest cave system.
A lot of the missing people a lot of the people that go missing that are found alive, it's similar to Fairyland. They think they've been going for hours, and they've been going for days, for weeks. I think the record is there was a guy that went missing while cross country skiing over Lake Michigan.
That's
he
weird.
He showed up in Massachusetts 15 months later.
What the fuck?
No idea how he got there. Done polygraphs, done psychological tests. They've proven. He doesn't know what happened during those 15 months.
And I hate those stories because I can't wrap my brain around
all.
Well, yeah, I can't wrap my brain around a logical reason why he would show up halfway across the country. Like, unless he was just drugged out of his mind and dumped into a bush somewhere. That's a possibility.
Did they do a spinal tap on him?
I don't know. I don't know if there were drugs in his system. There may have been. I know a lot of people, and we'll talk about this conspiracy too. A lot of people think it's actually associated with the smiley face killers. If you've ever heard of them,
I've not.
We'll do a deep dive on that.
That also sounds horrifying.
I'll send you some podcast links.
Okay.
You may have to punch out $5 for a Patreon subscription to the Tim Dillon Show.
I could live with that. Or you can stream it.
Where I can stream it
Look,
and have it downloaded to my computer.
I'm a cheap fuck, but I buy lottery tickets, alright?
Do you?
Yeah.
You know you're probably not gonna win, right?
I don't care. It's better. At this point, it's a better retirement plan than working for somebody for 50 years.
Maybe, but that's also like what people think that go broke.
Yeah, I know. Like I said,
David, that was kind of real.
We get over this later.
It's kind of that was a little too real, man.
Brad's like,
I don't have a problem.
Brad's like,
I don't have a problem.
We're supposed to be talking about shit that's weird and interesting, not real life.
Gambling addicts Gambling addicts are weird, so
No?
Well, I mean,
They're
I
just
think that
they're
I think
sad
that.
though, more so than interesting.
Are you saying that Bigfoot's not real life, Nick?
I mean, I'm saying that Bigfoot might have a gambling problem.
It's
you think
possible.
Bigfoot puts it all on red or black?
I don't
Definitely,
know.
probably
He definitely
puts it
puts
all
it
on
on.
black. I'd put it all.
His fur is black, so he probably puts it on black.
Goes into like some casino in Vegas and does the Wookiee roar, drops $300,000 on black, wins
Huh.
$2.6 million, walks out.
Why would
Maybe.
why would he go to Vegas when he can go to one of the many casinos out in the Midwest that like some of the native zone?
Because nobody gives a shit about those.
Because the natives don't like him too much, clearly.
Well, I don't know. They seem to be good friends. They're on first name
Oh,
basis.
I don't know about that.
Don't they? Isn't there a story of like a Sasquatch dude ripping apart like 7 Native American warriors and wearing their skin?
Yeah,
Probably.
pretty much.
Uh,
But I think he does that to white guys too.
does yeah. That Mount St. Helen story.
Oh yeah. I remember that.
Those were miners, right?
Yes,
I
And
think
that
none
he
of
was
them
throwing
died, but
quote unquote boulders at them and
multiple thrown
harassing the
boulders,
fuck
yes.
out of them.
Which we'll talk about this as well, because this is a great segue. They were having boulders thrown at them. They saw hairy hands, but I don't think they ever saw the actual Sasquatch. They just saw hairy hands. They had boulders and stuff thrown at the cabin, and I believe they fired shotguns out of chinks in the walls. And what they described was very interesting, because if you had put that in like a New Jersey suburb with a prepubescent girl in the house, you would have called it a poltergeist encounter, not a Bigfoot encounter.
True.
And that is that's an interesting thing, is that I think it's in Josh McCutcheon and Timothy Rayner's book. They have a chapter called Wildernessgeist, where they essentially say, like, it's like a play on poltergeist, right? They say Bigfoot is the wildernessgeist. He's the ghost of the wilderness, because
Could be.
lots of things associated with Bigfoot out in the wilderness, like people leaving votive offerings for him and having things returned and stuff like that. Um, Apparitions of stones that are hot. So not apparitions. Apport, app, the apportation, I think, like where stones appear in your house and stuff like that are hot. The three-toed footprints commonly associated with people. A lot of people don't realize a lot of Bigfoot footprints are actually three-toed, not five.
Right.
And which is common in poltergeists and stuff. You'll have
Human
poltergeist will leave
footprints.
footprints.
Maybe he is a
Yep.
demon.
Poltergeists are actually associated frequently with hairy hands appearing in the house, just on their own, floating.
I got hairy hands. Hopefully they're not
Okay.
mine.
Hopefully, but there's like sounds in the woods and stuff. And poltergeist would be a sound in your house or talking in your house, and like similar to like samurai chatter, which is like a weird like language people think in Bigfoot. It sounds somewhat like Japanese. And
Wait, Bigfoot's a weeb?
Bigfoot might be a weeb. Yeah, this is actually a big thing. Ron Moorhead's got the Sierra Sounds.
That's
you
dope.
think he's
basically sounding like a weeb, yeah.
do you think he likes Sword Art Online or Can?
That
I
video
think he
looks
likes sword
can.
art. Ooh.
Oh,
I've never
I
watched either
bet-
and don't know the premise of either, so
I bet he's watched every episode of the original Naruto, all like 250 episodes,
dude, I bet he's watched
including
all
the
of One
filler.
Piece.
must have.
I bet he's watched all of One Piece.
I certainly have. Maybe I'm Bigfoot. I got hairy
maybe you
hands.
are.
I'm not tall enough though.
No, you're not. You're shorter than me. What do you call it? No, but like a lot of the things that you would associate with Bigfoot, if they were in a house and there was probably a prepubescent girl around, you would call them poltergeist.
Yeah.
Because that's what most people think poltergeist is actually a psychic phenomenon with prepubescent girls when they're starting to get their hormone changes cause poltergeists to appear as a psychic phenomenon.
That's kind of weird.
That's a big, like, somewhat credited theory. Yeah. Most people think they're not. A lot of people think they're not ghosts; that they are a hormonal thing.
That makes sense. They don't really track for like how other ghosts exist.
No,
you know?
and especially since like most of the famous cases involve a girl between like 12 and 14 in the house, and it kind of like it disappears as she matures.
Right.
So they think it's like changing hormones and stuff. Like there's some people who are like more like psychically adapt or something like that, like or adept.
Well,
You've
that's
seen
that's
the,
kind of
Like
why the whole witches thing
inadvertently
exists.
cause the what?
That's why like the whole witches thing exists with women, right? Because women are more They're more like psychoactively involved with all that paranormal shit for
Well,
whatever reason.
we associate witches with women, but if you've read I read a book called Ecstasies. It's by Carlo Ginzburg. It's an Italian book. There is an English translation out there. It's a historical monograph about witchcraft in medieval Europe. It is very dense. It is not the easiest read, but it's pretty good. And it actually breaks down like there's actually in medieval Europe stuff like there's a lot of male witches too. But I read another thing today this morning actually interestingly about witches where it's they talk a lot of like old texts. They talk about witches always using like ointments and stuff, and ointments including things like belladonna, henbane, and things like that, which are toxic
Aren't those
if you
poison?
ingest them. Yes, but if you put them on your body, they're a powerful disassociative,
Oh,
similar to DXM, something like that.
gross.
And the key distinction between like a hallucinogenic and a dissociative is if you take like acid, you realize that you're on drugs. With a dissociative, you don't
Oh.
realize that you're on drugs. You think that whatever's happening while you disassociate is really happening to you.
Right. Well, because you're disassociated with reality, right?
Yeah.
You're not perceiving things the way that.
Yeah. Now keep in mind, I'm not discounting witchcraft as a real thing, and like there's no witches out there because I kind of think there are. But
Witchcraft can exist in that.
yep. Yeah, disassociatives can probably fuel a lot of witchcraft accusations, and a lot of people who admit to being witches may have been disassociating because they probably didn't realize that they were,
I mean, to
making
be fair,
dissociative elements on.
witches do exist. People practice with.
They do. We've known people that practice witchcraft.
I met some in Salem. They're walking around.
Really?
Yeah, it
That's
was Halloween.
oh, that's interesting. Only
Yeah,
Salem.
like they had like signs and shit point. Like, oh, get a reading and all. So those are probably scamming people, but also
Yeah,
like
yeah.
who knows?
Can we go up there with like stakes and torches?
Oh, there were some people preaching it, and there's a
Oh, that's
guy
pretty
dressed
good
as
actually. That's
Satan,
cool. I kind of want to go
giving
join
out
those
free
guys that are
hugs.
preaching at the witches.
It's like those guys, those neo Nazis that went down to Disney World and draped a fucking iron cross over the sign
Yeah, yeah, I
and were
saw
like
that.
zig heiling and shit. Like what the fuck are they
Yeah,
doing?
people were
I
very.
don't know.
I was dressed as Ryan Gosling from Drive.
What? Wait, why?
I don't know because I'm autistic as shit.
Fair enough, I guess. I don't know if you can say that, but fair enough.
I can
I
believe
mean,
that.
if he's
Maybe true.
autistic, he's autistic,
I mean, I
right?
am kind of like it's not like a
Well,
total lie.
none of us are diagnosed, but we all kind of are.
Yeah, there
You know,
it's there's a
Isn't
good
that
you
just
you
being
might be autistic. Me and Brad are schizophrenics.
yeah, there's a good chance that I'm.
Brad's hearing voices, and I'm
Well,
seeing
I have
faces
really
and
bad
ghosts.
ADHD, which is kind of like on the same spectrum. So
Fascinating.
it's probably just that's maybe I'm not autistic, but I feel like it. So that's all I have to do to be autistic.
Yeah.
Um,
Yep. We've been going for about an hour, haven't we?
fuck if I know.
That's true. You don't? Aren't you recording?
Yeah, I am. I just
Okay.
the timer wasn't on screen.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're almost at an hour at 50. We go for a little.
We can go for a little longer.
We went for like an hour
I was
20 the
just
last time.
yeah. I was just thinking because like I don't know. I think we may have to do a two-parter for Bigfoot because we haven't really gotten to a lot.
Bigfoot tie, probably.
Yeah. But no, dogmen have like haunches or whatever. Like so their legs are different than normal legs. And sorry.
Like the
Dog.
Skyrim werewolf legs.
Yeah, like the Skyrim werewolf legs. And they have like an elongated snout, and they're supposed to be much more aggressive, and they're supposed to kill. And then you have like sheep man and stuff like that, which are supposed to be like the folklore of a lot of areas. These are like the product of an experiment gone wrong, or a mad scientist who became a sheep man. Very odd. I don't think there's any real credibility.
They
to
actually
this
got
stuff.
polymorphed by a druid. Now they're living in the
Right,
woods.
my bad.
An animal.
Bad. Correct. Yep. Sheep man, I don't think there's any real like sheep and goat man. I don't think there's any real like credibility to.
Well,
But I
there's
do find it interesting. Yeah.
there's the mythos, the Greek and Roman myth, like Satyr and stuff like that.
Satyr. Yeah, that's true. I didn't think about that. I find it interesting that they're oftentimes associated with like abandoned rail bridges, or just rail bridges in general.
Yeah, that is interesting.
Yeah, I used to hang up at a rail bridge when I lived in the middle of the woods in a Winnebago, and yeah, it was a pretty creepy place. I'm gonna be honest. I used to go fish by it.
I think we should talk about for future episodes. Talk about the crossroads.
Yeah, we can talk about the crossroads. That'd be an interesting one to do. To dive into that a little bit.
Oh, road. But I don't know, man. All this is real weird.
There's a lot of weird stuff. Like the dog man's like it's just really weird because to me it just sounds like a Bigfoot that it's like looks slightly different. But
Yeah,
most people think it's completely different.
I have like I was looking at like a top 10 list of like sightings last night, and there's this one that was like a really clear video, in Allegheny, yay,
Allegheny National Forest or Allegheny County?
National Forest.
Yeah, like that's north. That's like Forest County
Um,
and like Clarion County.
yeah, it captured like bear cubs earlier in the day, and like this weird looking fucking thing. A lot of people thought it was a manged bear, but it just does not look like. Send it in Discord. Maybe I'll throw it up in the picture of it. I mean, it's newer, so it was in 2007, so it could have been doctored pretty easily. But
I know manged bear is like a pretty common thought of what a Bigfoot is. That to me, like, it doesn't look like a manged bear, but it
looks
does
like a
look.
bear,
It looks like a primate. It's short though. It's very short.
right? It's not
It's
as tall as maybe it's a pygmy Bigfoot.
we can put a link to this photo right in the description.
Yeah. Well, I
Yeah,
could
so
I
you
can
can
edit
look
it
at
in.
like.
I'll just
Oh
throw it.
right, I forgot we had a video. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, yeah. This does look like a Yeah, it looks like a pygmy Bigfoot, just like you said. Which is interestingly enough, Littlefoot is a thing.
Littlefoot, is that like its children?
Littlefoot is a thing. No, no, actually no. Um, Littlefoot is small Bigfoots, varieties of Bigfoots that are smaller, similar to that, and kind of ties in with I think the Flores people in Indonesia, which lived a long time ago. But the natives always had a legend of these little people that lived in the woods and would attack them, and I think take their children, maybe their wives or something like that. And everyone was like, "This is completely fake. There are no little people living in the woods." And interestingly enough, they said, "Oh, they live in this cave down here." And archaeologists went into the cave and actually found very, very old bones of, I think they're called Homo florensis, which are little people.
Right.
They're like hobbits. Very odd.
Well, I mean, if you
But
look at
Littlefoot
like
is a similar
historically,
concept to that.
people have gotten taller. I
Mm.
mean, it could be like it could,
Probably diet, mostly.
yeah, like more than likely that's what I mean. Like
Yeah, not of nutrients. It's
the,
actually because gravity is getting less on the flat Earth.
the idea that um like little people exist like all the way, then like it's not unreasonable to have dwarfism
No,
ever,
there's
like to
actually
call
stories of
it.
dwarf.
That's a fucking hot button issue these days because it's the new fight ever.
Yeah, there's actually stories of dwarf colonies near us, like violent dwarf colonies. Very odd. We can go into that off camera at some point, or
Yeah.
off mic at some point. Yeah, it's pretty
You
interesting.
need to go. You need to go assault the dwarven stronghold.
Maybe.
I'd like to befriend them. They sound like formidable warriors.
I think they hate non-dwarf people.
I'm sure they do. If they're
If it's anything like Total Warhammer shit, they're incredibly racist and crude.
Well,
Yo,
let's not say that about them.
yo, me too. That's crazy, bro. It was a joke, by the way.
That's a joke. We're joking. We're joking. In Minecraft. No, what do you call it? What was I saying? We were talking about dwarf. Oh yeah, no, about people. And how they were shorter. Yeah, average Roman soldier I found out was 5'4" during the Republican period. Literally shorter than Brad, which is insane because Brad's insanely short. He's actually a man one.
Wow, you're just pulling out all the stops tonight, aren't you?
Absolutely. I mean, me and Nick aren't tall. Don't get us confused here. Neither of us are over 5'10", I don't think.
Don't get it twisted.
I like the nice dead air time that we just had right there.
True.
True. So
So-
true, King. So true.
So the overall opinion on Bigfoot, do you think he exists or do you think he's bullshit?
I have a complicated opinion of Bigfoot, so I'll let Nick go first. It's probably less complex. No offense.
The opinion on if he exists?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm sure something like him exists. Not unheard of. Like I said, silverback gorillas exist. So, like, it's hard to say that there's no such thing because people exist. It'd be a little unreasonable to say that like something like that this doesn't exist because like how would it? Because if you believe in evolution, we branched off from primates, so we evolved and became upright walking. So it's not unreasonable to think that that or a ape.
Yeah. I mean that's fair, I guess.
From that perspective, from the fae and like fairy, like alien and like high strange stuff. I'm not sure. That stuff is very new to me. I've been reading a little bit about it, but I'm not like 100% on it.
See, that's where I lean. That I don't believe Bigfoot is a physical primate. Now,
Very odd.
I wouldn't discount a physical primate in like mountainous regions. Sorry, the cough in Asia, in like Siberia, and stuff like that. But I do not think there is an undiscovered primate walking around the United States, especially the eastern U.S. Like as in like Beyond the Seventh Gate and like the Toad Road books by Timothy Renner, right? He discusses these things. I've been to the area, man. There's like that, like these Bigfoots are seen. Dude, there's suburbs everywhere. There's houses everywhere. There's not like there's woods, sure, but there's no forests for it to live in. There's no way that it lives in the forest. It lives in like gateway areas, I guess you could call them. Areas where there may be like a thinness between our reality and like wherever they live or they are, and they kind of pop through because they don't pop through everywhere. Clearly, like, they're not seen everywhere. They're seen in specific areas. There are hot spots where there are lots of sightings,
Right.
which makes me think like, oh well, clearly some of those areas can't sustain the population of primates that are that tall, and which makes me think, oh well, they probably are not entirely physical beings that live in like our world, but also not in our world that kind of pop through. I believe I think John Keel calls it Magonia. Maybe I think Passport to Magonia is a phrase, and it would be like fairyland you could call it. But I don't know if I believe in that either because I don't think it really fits with like a biblical worldview. You could say, but interestingly enough, I remember like 4 or 5 years ago having conversations with people who were Christians about Bigfoot, right? At a time when I was not, and them saying like, yeah, like there's too much evidence to just outright deny it and say like, oh, there can't be a Bigfoot.
Right.
But
I mean, there's too many things
like,
that point towards things like this existing outside of Bigfoot.
yeah. But then they made the interesting leap where they tied it in with giants. Right. And giants are typically a little bit bigger, but like the higher end of Bigfoot, you could be considered like a giant. Bigfoot.
15 foot, yeah, I mean, I'd say so.
Even 9 feet, 10 feet, I'd consider that giant. Like there's no people that big. Tallest person's like a little over 7 feet, and they don't live that long.
No, I mean,
But,
I think is the tallest person 7 feet? I guess it is.
A little over, yeah.
A little over, yeah.
But if you look at like the Bible with like Nephilim and stuff, like Goliath is a giant. In like the famous story of David and Goliath, and that would be like a lot of people consider Goliath to be a Nephilim, so like a cross between an angel and a man. So likely an unsouled being, so something that has no soul. right? But like, so really doesn't have any like moral compass or anything like that. And it's kind of like almost neutral, one could say. And like that, like Bigfoot and like the Fae could just be like these like unsouled beings that live adjacent to us and like on like a they're not quite spiritual like an angel or a demon, but they're not quite physical like we are.
Interesting concept. Oh, stuff like this is
I
very weird to look at because, like, not far fetched, but it's also like really hard to not sound like a crazy person talk about it.
See, it's not far fetched, but it's also completely insane.
Yeah,
so
Exactly.
you're either on one side or the other. You either fucking crazy or you're like, nah, dude, these are just monkeys.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, even the monkey people are kind of far fetched.
Right. Well, that's the thing because you'd think we would see a lot more of it, right? And you'd think that we'd
Oh yeah.
research it,
Oh yeah.
unless they're like mega dangerous.
Well, either they're mega dangerous or they're just mega like there's like 20 of them in the entire world or
Right.
something. You know, if we're talking about because there's a lot of reasons humans don't grow to be 7 feet tall, and it's because there's a lot of health issues with that because
Yeah.
we're genetically designed to be between like 4'10" to
Four,
like six
4'10" to
three,
6'3".
6'2". Yeah, so
Like even
that's
people that are 6'4", 6'5" have health issues from that.
yeah. So if this is some kind of like not genetic ancestor or something, but maybe a close relative to humans, there's only going to be so many of them because they're
Yeah.
biological freaks, right? They're
You
not.
don't gotta bully him.
Well, I'm not trying to bully him. I'm just trying to
No.
say like these creatures. When you're talking about something like a monkey that's 7 feet tall, they're not designed to be that
No, they're
tall,
not.
right? They're just not. So we may have just come to the point in history where there's not many of these things left, if any at all, because they just had health issues and died off in the wild. Now,
And
like I
like
said,
as we have, you could say, expanded our populations and stuff like that.
yeah, but even then, even if you make that argument, a lot of these sightings and happenings happen in the middle of bumfuck nowhere in the woods, right? There's not this is not like it happens outside of Detroit.
Well, no,
This
no.
is happening. This is happening in the woods somewhere.
The two largest states for sightings are Pennsylvania and California. California being the first, Pennsylvania being the second. I believe Oregon's the third. Oregon or Washington. Don't quote me on that.
So if you look up
But
what
a
the
lot of the sightings in Pennsylvania, I will say, occur in relatively populated areas.
they do,
They
yeah.
don't occur in the middle of the woods. Pennsylvania is a state that has some wilderness,
Well,
but
the
it does
PA
not. The
wilds are
places
pretty
that
popular
yes, but
for
Bigfoot
being
sightings in
empty.
the PA, Bigfoot sightings in the PA are concentrated in the southern part of the state, near the West Virginia and the Maryland border.
Right.
And like for example, this Toad Road thing is in PA. That's in York County. York County is right next to Harrisburg. I was there a couple weeks ago. Very populated. These are
So
populated areas.
if
I've
you
been to the Laurel Highlands where there's a lot of sightings. It's next to Johnstown, not a small area.
Yeah, but it's not nearly it's not New York either. It's not like a bustling urban
No, but it's
center.
like
So this
45
is
minutes from Pittsburgh.
right, but we're still talking about a region that's still non-developed enough for it to be wildlife to wander out into your front
right.
yard and eat your grass kind of
Okay,
situation.
yeah, but you also have like interesting cases like Old Red Eyes in New Jersey, which is New Jersey's like most famous Bigfoot, arguably. And Old Red Eyes was seen in the city of Hoboken, seen in Hoboken, not outside
Yo,
of
what's he doing over
Hoboken,
there?
in Hoboken. I don't know. He was in an apartment building, apparently cleaning it. Very odd. Like legitimately dressed as a janitor, mopping the floor.
See, that shit I can't buy. Like
Th-
That's
that
wild.
just seems like some
this
dude is
poor
either
tall
drunk or high.
janitor just got bullied and
Yeah,
turned into a
this
cryptid.
this this
He is a
dude who's hairy and
I
shit
wish it
and
was
is
a cryptid.
7 foot tall. He's just getting fucked with by
Um,
people on the internet now.
I looked it
That'd
up
be
by the
funny.
way. The tallest living that or the tallest ape that ever lived was 9 feet tall, I think.
Tallest
Yeah,
apes
how long
ever
he
lived.
lived though?
Huh?
Now is that like a person or like an ape?
That is an
Like
ape.
that?
That is the Gigantopithecus.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's what people think Bigfoot's a remnant population of.
Yeah.
Gigantopithecus. Yeah, that's you find them in China. There you find the fossils in China, or the bones, or whatever. I don't know. Fossils, bones, same thing. It's
So
all
like,
calcium.
I mean, like the research
It's
done
a
into it,
possibility.
you're right. Like the size of it, like kind of doomed its population. Like it died really
Well,
quickly.
maybe, right? Maybe. I mean, megafauna exists in the past, and it exists today. The reason megafauna doesn't exist today mostly is because of human hunting.
Yeah, true.
Most of it, right?
Yeah, but how many
Elephants
times have
and giraffes
we?
are megafauna.
Yeah, yeah,
They
but they're
are.
also known and they're also protected megafauna.
Yeah, but like for example, something huge like a silverback, right? Right? Silverbacks were a cryptid for a long time. And I know now I'm like defending the idea that Bigfoot's a primate, even though I said it's not a primate. But like silverbacks were a cryptid for a long time until a British explorer found them in I believe like the Congo or something like that. And the natives have been telling him like, yeah, there's these big apes with dark fur that come in and they steal our women from the villages, which they don't do that. But then he did go in and he's like, oh wait a minute, and he found one. He's like, oh wait, there are big apes here with black fur.
Yeah.
And they're silverback gorillas. And now I can go to the Philadelphia Zoo and see them behind plexiglass.
Yeah.
Until
That's
they become like hyper intelligent, like Planet of the Apes, and start killing us.
well,
No,
then
no,
we'll
no.
just kill them first.
That's why it poses a difficult question for me if that's even possible. And then you have the Fae and like and alien shit on top of it. I'm just like, all right, well,
I don't see how the alien shit rolls into it, but I can see like an undiscovered version of us bumping around the woods. I can see
Mm,
that. Like I said before,
I
I
mean there
think
are
I've
too. That's
I've seen a lot
Feral
of
humans.
like I've seen like a lot of like the best of us, like athletes and bodybuilders try to recreate some of this stuff and they can't. But then again, people turn around and go, "Oh yeah, well yeah, this casting of the foot was fake because you can tell this was made with Play-Doh." And there's been a lot of fakings of it just for like publicity. It's like
right.
crop
Agreed.
circles, right?
That's true. We can talk about crop circles another day as well. There's interesting things to the fake. Like, as with all of these things, including crop circles, like there's very clear fakes, but then there's also things that are very clearly not fake.
Yeah.
That's very odd. And like things that if they were faked, would have had to have been faked by an expert. Someone who knows anatomy of primates
Sure,
and
it's
knows
definitely possible.
how a primate would function if they were that large.
But there comes a point where the fake if the fake is so if you make the fake so good you can't recreate the fake, then you run the risk of people just being like, "Oh yeah, it's fake." It's
That's true.
bullshit.
Man,
You
all
can
I'm
make
saying is that
you can make such a thing as such a perfect like a perfect fake where you give it all the characteristics you're looking for in a giant Sasquatch creature, and then nobody can recreate it, and then everybody it turns into a disinformation campaign like they did with like Project Blue Book and shit, where now you can't prove it regardless because everybody's so skeptical about it. It's like, oh, you found Bigfoot's turd in the woods? I bet it's just a bear shit.
well, now we're hitting reason here, I guess. Yeah, that's actually we didn't talk about that. We didn't talk about crap in the woods, did we?
No, didn't.
No, that's a big topic actually. That's a very big topic that you just brought up.
There's a
Crap
lot
in
of
the
people
woods.
who've spent their whole lives digging through the woods for shit, and I don't envy them at all.
No, I don't envy them either. It's I see bear crap occasionally, and I'm like, oh, I want to steer clear of this. This is not nice. But I will say there's been a lot of times that people brought in Bigfoot scat, and it is just bears most of the time actually. Same thing with the hare.
Yeah.
But scat and hare are found, and there've been a few cases that they brought it in and say the hare is and the scat they're from an unidentified primate.
So I have a question. Have
Yeah,
you've seen the sun bear, right?
no, never heard of the sun bear.
That the
Google
real
that. I
bear.
will. After. Oh wait, that maybe I have actually.
Is that the
This
bear
is
that
ringing the
everybody thought
bell.
was
It's
fake
the
in
bear
China?
it's the bear that looks like people, but it's not people.
It looks like people, but it ain't no people.
That sounds very racist.
Um,
Looks like people, but it ain't, brother.
It ain't no
I don't-
people.
I don't think this looks like a person, but
Well,
I
when
think it
they're
looks like a
standing
bear.
up,
That's like, I think it looks like an autistic bear, to be honest.
it-
Oh, it's waving. What the hell?
yeah,
Oh, that's crazy.
yeah,
An
that's
autistic bear.
Wait, that's insane. Actually, dude, I love this thing.
What
Can I
the
get one?
fuck is that
uh,
even
I
mean?
mean, you could try and steal
Ooh,
one.
some bear walking.
They're kind of endangered because they're bad at living. So,
Yeah, same.
I'm a threat to my own survival.
but I just like looking at some of this stuff just makes me think that it's like it's just a
Oh,
sun
what the
bear.
hell? No, I'm watching ABC News. I'm watching it walk, dude. That's insane.
Yeah, it's weird, right? It
No,
won't.
this is an autistic bear.
Yeah,
This bear is retarded, man.
right.
I don't know if you have to cut that or not, or bleep it, but you might.
I'll probably bleep that.
It's retarded.
Oh,
Oh, dude, I love that thing. That's great.
but yeah,
I wish I'd seen that earlier. Imagine that. Wild.
there you go. The sun bear is
Dude, what if Bigfoot's just a massive sun bear?
maybe.
Just wanders around the woods.
I don't know.
It's like the all father of sun bears.
I don't think they're around here, but
Yeah. Well, this is the thing. I don't know because like that was an ABC clip I watched, which is an American news channel, American broadcast channel, but
yeah, but
they're like an Asian thing, aren't they?
You don't
yeah,
think the
they're
media
Chinese.
is lying to you about this? You don't think they want to hide the fact that the bears are
Brother,
intelligent?
brother, I know the media's lying. I know they're hiding the fact bears are intelligent. In fact, I've known it for a long
Richmond,
time.
north
Brother.
of Richmond.
And miners on an island in fudge rounds, brother.
Amen, brother.
Amen, brother.
I actually like
All right,
that
well,
guy. I
back
can't make
back
Yeah,
to
well,
Bigfoot. Yeah, I
he was
it's,
on Joe
it's
Rogan.
not a,
He's a pretty cool
it's
guy.
not a terrible song. I
He was
don't
on
crap
he was on Jordan Peterson too.
Look, I don't crap on anyone that goes and starts talking about proverbs on the freaking Joe Rogan show. It's actually not a horrible
Proverbs
song.
16:69.
It's actually Proverbs 4:20, which is funny.
Yeah, it was feel like that.
Yeah, Joe did, and the guy pointed it out.
Yeah.
I thought it was ironic. But yeah. So what were we talking about with sun bear? What were we talking about before sun bears?
I don't know.
What was going on? We're talking about like Littlefoot, maybe, or
Well, we went from Littlefoot to why we don't see these things, and then population centers and shit like that.
okay.
Maybe we were talking about the faith stuff.
What if we
And
just
we got talking
segue
about
into why they're so universally hated by society, and like why most people think that they're fake?
That is a good question.
because
I don't know.
because they are the antithesis of the modern man,
Well,
and
this
it
is true.
shows that you can be happy butt ass naked in the wild eating berries and shit.
Well, I was going to say that. I was going to say because one reason is because reason number one, because it kind of defies our, especially since, in my opinion, it's clearly not like it's a primate walking around the woods. If it is a primate walking around the woods, it baffles us because we cannot find it and cannot gain specific evidence for it, which probably scares us to some extent because we view ourselves as the master of the universe, right?
Yeah, it's
If it is not a
what
primate,
jellyfish becoming like sentient and it scares us or something.
yeah, yeah. Well,
I think the
I like
jellyfish
jellyfish.
should become take
I
over.
agree. I agree.
The Japanese would like that a lot.
I think generally stuff
Let's
that
not go there. Let's not go there.
generally stuff that scares people is like usually they like to dismiss it, right? Like
Well, yeah.
Mhm.
Imagine if you had some like semi-intelligent 7 foot tall dude rip the
Well,
fucking door off your car.
yeah. See, that scares you because we can't.
I'd rather not go to
Not
West
just
Philly,
because
bro.
we can't. Okay, let's not go there. We have to bleep that entire sentence out now, Nick. We've both been there, but let's not go there.
Yeah,
The
dude.
closer
I'm
this goes, the
fucking
worse it becomes.
It was funny. I couldn't
It
resist.
it was really funny. Can't say
dead
that.
digger storage.
Okay, now we have to cut this whole section. So let's cut back to the part where I
Creating
was
more
talking
work
about the
for myself.
materialist paradigm. All right, so but reason number two with the materialist is the materialist paradigm, right? We live in a materialist age, right? Capitalism is a materialist worldview. Communism is also a materialist worldview. most of our major worldviews today are based on economics, at least in the West, which is inherently materialist. If you view things from a more spiritual worldview, you would see the idea of a transdimensional being or an interdimensional being being more possible. But if Bigfoot is an interdimensional being, and in the materialist paradigm that doesn't work out, and one thing people don't like, once again, feeling safe, is they don't want their paradigm shattered. If you don't want your paradigm shattered, good luck. You're not
Well, that's
gonna deal with you're
the
not gonna
common
deal with
man
the
can't
materialist
handle
worldview.
that shit, right? Like it's
No,
like the whole
I don't blame
it's
them.
like the whole argument for disclosure. Like everybody's like, oh yeah, they're gonna tell us aliens exist, and then the government's like, oh yeah, there's shit flying around that we don't know where it comes from, and everybody was just like, oh okay, I'm gonna go
But
back to worrying about providing
also
food for
like,
my table.
I don't think most people would care. That's the thing. As the great Ray Kump once said, I believe. Um, look that up if you know who it is. I guess funny guy. But I think he said like the government could come out tomorrow and say, yeah, we did 9/11, and no one would care. They'd be like, that's cool, and just go about their day.
Well, because people nowadays are so overloaded with information, they're just like, oh, I can't handle
Uh-huh.
that, so I'm gonna go back to watching TikTok.
Yeah, but and if people can't handle the materialist paradigm being shattered, which most people can't, then you're not going to accept Bigfoot or UFOs or any sort of high strangeness. To be honest,
No,
that's why
yeah,
the
that's
majority of
why.
people don't give any credence to this sort of thing.
Well, so that's 50-50 because if nowadays I think that's a lot more accepted because if it wasn't, you wouldn't have subreddits dedicated to that shit. You wouldn't have
This is
that
well,
shit
I,
showing up on
look,
mainstream television. You wouldn't have the whole debate of the Navy Tic Tac UFO thing. So
one
I think a lot of people can handle it. I just think a lot of people are hyper skeptic about that stuff because it's like Carl Sagan said. It's like if you're gonna show me some crazy shit, I better see some crazy fucking evidence of it existing, or you're just blowing smoke out of your ass.
Yeah.
okay, so first of all, Carl Sagan's gay. Second of all, um, we have to
Nice,
cut.
nice third grade insult. Good job.
I come back with
With
the most
the,
intelligent thing I could think of, and you're
I
just
don't
saying
look.
Carl
I
Sagan's a
don't.
fag.
Carl Sagan's a fag. I do not like Carl Sagan. But with the other thing you said, like I don't think its portrayal in like the mainstream is positive. UFOs certainly are given more credence because we're looking to get into a war probably, and we always talk about UFOs when we're looking to get into a war. Um, but I don't think that there's any real like people ridicule the shows on History Channel about Bigfoot and stuff like that. Really most popular. People ridicule anything on TV about Bigfoot. When the news mentions it, it's normally in jest, and they make fun of the people that are just thinking that they see it. I don't think that the media like portrays it positively enough that a lot of people are trying to that a lot of people are trying to point it out. Yeah, very nice image that you just sent me, Brad.
Nice.
Very nice, nice.
Based.
But
I
yeah,
don't
I
know. I
don't
think a
think
lot more people are open to that kind of shit nowadays
there
because
definitely are more, but it's still
Yeah.
not the
They're aware
majority.
that the government lies about stuff. I think that's the biggest thing. Is like they
well,
like or
I think a
people
lot of
lie in
people have
general.
become a lot of people have become Marvelized. Where they're like, oh, the aliens are going to show up and stop the nuclear war because that's just what they would do. And it's just
Yeah,
like, no,
it's
you're talking about a hyper intelligent species that can get from fucking one end of the
well,
universe to the
I
other.
think
They don't
Bigfoot's
give
the
we
a
same
talked
shit
about
about it.
scenario.
this. We talked about this last week, right? I think I said this last week. It's like, yeah, because we live in a world that's non-religious for the most part. Like the Western world is non-religious for the most part, but people have an innate religiosity in them, and that innate religiosity leads them to want to believe that there is some higher power looking out for them. And in the materialist paradigm, where there is no spiritual aspect, people look towards physical aliens from another planet, just like ours, as that higher power that's going to look out for them and save them in the end. They believe that when US and Russia and China start launching nukes at each other, the aliens are going to save them. Whereas in the Middle Ages, if we had nukes, people would have believed that the angels and God would have saved them.
The fucking Pope of
It
the
is
Holy Roman Empire would have glassed all of Western Europe.
absolutely most actually probably Eastern Europe, but they would have had a whole line of area you can cross. But no, I mean it is like I believe religion is a powerful force when it is real, and I believe it is a powerful force when it is not real. And I do believe that the intense belief that UFOs are our salvation is a religious belief. Similar to the way like controversial take, I believe that the idea of the communist utopia is a religious belief as well. I think people are innately religious and look for some sort of higher power to guide them.
Well, I
You
mean,
either find the right
look at
one or
every
you find a
communist
materialist one.
dictatorship. Look at all the major communist dictatorships that have ever existed in society. They all consolidate power to the party. They usually have a cult personality for the guy that's running the place. You can take
Yeah,
Stalin, Mao, fucking whatever, I can't remember his name in North Korea, fucking whoever.
Kim Jong Il.
Yeah, Kim Jong Il. All these societies center resources around the belief that everybody suffering at once will lead to a greater salvation for all of mankind, and it just turns out to be fucking it just turns out to be a shit show because the people that have power and the guns decide what happens, and if you disagree, you disappear in a hole somewhere.
Well, and the same thing goes for today with like even with like far right figures, like those guys you were talking about that protested at Disney, the ones that were Nazis. Their leaders, and they describe themselves as I think esoteric Hitlerists,
What
and
the
I think
fuck?
well, this is a wild thing. I believe their view is that Hitler is an incarnation of Woden, and that Hitler's a god
Oh,
figure, and
that's
they worship Hitler.
sacrilege.
Very odd. I would agree it's sacrilege, but that's insane. But like, yeah, people latch on to something they think will bring them salvation,
Well, it's kind
right?
of like how we had a massive influx of cults in the late 80s and 90s, right?
Yeah,
Like that
Well,
we don't
one
really
could
get that
also
anymore.
attribute
you have
that
a
to the
handful
CIA.
nowadays.
We could talk about that and say that maybe the CIA was involved in many of them.
No way. You're telling
I
me
want to
that
put a
the
fucking
CIA
big
operates.
fat target on the back of my head right now, right? Let's.
I'm telling you that in the beer fridge last night at work, I listened to an interesting podcast where they mentioned that the CIA doctors knew many of the founders of these cults. So, so
Hmm.
I'm saying maybe the CIA was involved. I've also studied them in an academic setting. Very interesting.
Do you think the CIA? Yeah. Do you think the CIA is a Bigfoot ploy?
You look into some
Dude,
modern day stuff.
I bet the CIA
Well,
has a freaking Bigfoot
this is
division.
what, did you read about the guys who show up every time people claim they've shot a Bigfoot?
Are you talking about Men in Black or Men in Plaid?
Men in plaid,
Men in Plaid,
which
yeah,
are
no,
thought
Men
to
in
be men in
Plaid, yeah.
black, but in plaid.
But in Plaid, yeah. There's the they're Men in Plaid, the Canuck division. They're the Canuck division. They wear that freaking Canuck tux. The
They'd be wearing
Canadian tuxedo.
more denim though. You gotta have their Canadian tux.
That's true. Oh yeah, that's true. The Canadian tuxedo. That's who said I had a Canadian tux on. Me and my friend David Smith one time were walking around with denim jackets and jeans on together, and it looked really bad because we looked like we were we were in a Christian college campus and looked like we were gay, to say the least. And someone complimented us for our Canadian tuxes. Very odd.
I'm gonna hold my tongue on
Not a great
something.
time. Not a great time. Hold your tongue. Tell me later.
Yeah,
No, but yeah,
offensive and probably not okay.
Men in Plaid though,
Oh,
very interesting. Very interesting. Because we've all heard of Men in Black. We've all heard that there are Men in Black who, when people see UFOs, come to people's homes and tell them, "Hey, don't say anything or bad things might happen to you." And they've all been popularized by those cool movies with Will Smith. And I don't know the actor's name, but the guy who plays the sheriff
yeah, yeah.
in No Country for Old Men, fantastic movie, all it. But um, yeah, Men in Plaid are just they're just Men in Black and plaid. I mean, there's not
Yeah.
really much to like.
No,
Yeah,
I
they
just,
Why?
they show up in plaid and they say,
yeah, but
"Hey."
See,
they take the bodies away. Where do they take them?
They do take the bodies away.
I
That's
could
true.
see them being like hunting gear or something from like the 1920s. They just show up at like the lodge where the guy's going off about how he capped Bigfoot. I don't know why plaid though. That's such a weird thing.
Just what
Yeah, I
they
don't know. Hunting gear would make
wear.
more sense, I guess. But like, yeah, they wear plaid. But it's
It,
also like a similar thing. Like The Men in Black clearly, when they show up, think that they're blending in well with human society. It's like the Men in Plaid may think they're blending because a lot of rural people find Bigfoot, I guess.
Yeah.
Find the bodies. The people that shoot them are typically rural, and they probably think they're blending in well with the
They'd be
rural.
more
They go to
comfortable
they go
talking
to
to a
they
guy.
go to LL Bean and they pick up some plaid. Like this is what the rural folk wear,
They-
not realizing that the rural folk shop at Walmart and at Dollar General.
They probably figured they'd feel more comfortable talking to someone plaid than in a tux.
Yeah, maybe. It's possible.
Um,
All right, let's wrap this up.
yeah, let's wrap it up. That's it for.
Yeah, Men in Plaid. I mean, kind of our ending, I guess.
That's
No.
the Bigfoot episode, everybody. Next week or the week after, no, probably next week. We're gonna come up with something else. I don't know what yet.
Yep.
We discussed what
Find
we're gonna come
something
up
to talk
with
about
after the
and
episode.
bullshit about for an hour and a half to 2 hours.
Yeah, we'll probably revisit Bigfoot at some point. Let's
Yeah,
be
I feel like
honest.
we can dive deeper. There's some. That's the thing about these things. There's a lot of detailed like stories to jump into, and those will
We
take
could-
a couple hours on their own to talk about.
If we really went deep on the research and didn't like half-ass everything, we could do a whole hour. On
I like
Patterson
half-assing
Gimlin
stuff.
film.
It's funnier this way.
Oh,
Nobody
it's
wants
great.
to.
It's great time. We
Nobody
say things,
wants
we
to
have to cut them.
listen. Nobody wants to listen to a bunch of people talk all scientific and shit on a podcast. They just want to listen to like three retards talk about stupid
Well,
shit.
Some people want to listen to scientific,
Yeah.
but that's when
No.
you'd have like professional interviewers. And
You
that
know what
being
those
said,
people are?
we
You
often
know what those
try
people
and
are?
get David Icke
You know
on
what those
'cause we
people?
think-
And I'm
well,
gonna be
you know
I'm
what
gonna be
else we're gonna
locked
do
in the
after
editing
this?
closet for
You know
10
what else?
hours.
You know what else we're gonna do? We're gonna go over words we can and can't say. Have
Yeah.
a nice. Thank you for joining Nick, Connor, and
Thanks for
Brad
listening to another one of our pointless podcasts where we
Auditory
drabble on for the next
Hallucinations.
2 hours about pointless shit.
I'm glad you
Thank you
guys
for
decided to
joining
talk
us.
at the same time.
Yeah, I don't know. Thank you for joining Auditory Hallucinations. Have a nice night. I guess.
Don't listen
Take
to the
some
voices.
DMT. Do the
Yeah.
DMT. Take the pill.